Good morning, guys. It is July 3rd, 2023. On this video here, I want to talk about just a few things on um, being wise um, with your finances and being wise to take care of your family. Now, this is one area that I think is very, very, very important, but yet people aren't taught, people aren't, educated on just basic common sense of taking care of things and being responsible. Now, I want to mention that it doesn't matter what you make. Now, first of all, before I go that direction, I will say that there are legitimate circumstances where things are truly a challenge. But I want to tell you guys that, um, you know, being financially smart is avoiding debt, paying your bills on time, and making certain things a priority. Now, one issue that I've seen a lot, and this really drives me nuts, is people have this mentality of like, well, I deserve this. I need this. I want this. I want. And I'm not saying that wanting things is wrong. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy things. But here's what I am going to say. You need to make sure that you pay your essential bills first. And I would add on top of that, especially if you're a Christian, tithing, that's a big one. Put your trust in the Lord and, give, 10%. Am I perfect at it? No, I'm not always perfect at it, but I do my best to do that. And, I will make it very clear that, that's not um, a legalistic thing. It's not like you have to do that or God isn't pleased with you. It's more of like we do it out of joy and gratitude to the Lord. And honestly, you can give way beyond 10%, if you wanted to. And, whether that's giving to your local church, whether that's giving to somebody in need, whether that's, just paying for somebody's groceries in front of you that's in line, like say, I'll take care of your bill, or, whatever it is. Maybe it's, helping somebody who has lost a job. Maybe it's, there's many, many ways to do it, and what you decide to do with that is between you and God. It's none of my business. It's none of your business what I do with my money on that. It's between you and God. And so that's just one thing that I will say. Now, secondly, I will say that we're going, the biggest thing is to take things in order of what is most important. Now, I will say that rent or mortgage is the most important. Now, that's number one. And a lot of people say, well, food is more important and stuff. And I get that. But here's one thing that I will say. When it comes to food, this is something that I will say. Always be stocking up when things go on sale. Always be stocking up ahead of time to get ahead, and so you can continue to sustain yourself and feed your family. You know, that's basically how I was raised. You know, especially when my parents were very tight financially, and me and my younger brother, we didn't have income yet. That's what they did. They bought what was on sale, only what was on sale. They didn't just go out and buy whatever they wanted to buy. They had to pay rent, to keep a roof over their head, and they had to buy groceries, basics, so we can eat, along with basic essential supplies. Now, we never did without. I will say that. We were so fortunate and so blessed, but I will say that I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, my parents were in tighter financial conditions. And so I know some of this firsthand. Now, I don't know like everything in terms of like the finances, but I know enough to know that no, we couldn't afford this, we couldn't afford that. This is what we need to do. You know, my mom had even said one time I had to pay the rent, and so no, we can't afford to do that right now. And so I know firsthand that there are priorities. And so when it comes to rent or mortgage, that is number one. That should be number one. Now, because here's the thing. When it comes to your housing, that is very important. Your home is the very foundation of your life. If you do not have your home, then everything else is a mess. Now, rent or mortgage, food, and then utilities. So, utilities. Now, why do I say pay rent or mortgage first? If you can pay rent or mortgage and you can't pay utilities, what's the worst thing that can happen? utilities get shut off. Nobody wants that. But I will say that if you've paid the bill to keep a roof over your head and your electricity or water or whatever gets cut off for a short period of time, it's still better. You still have a roof over your head. So that's why we put rent or mortgage, any type of house payment, first, because that is vital. We've never been in that situation, praise the Lord. I don't ever remember us ever having a time where we haven't been able to pay our water bill, our electric bill, anything like that. But I know that it can happen, and I know there are people that are truly in dire straits, and I get that. So, at the end of the day, and this is why I say, if you have a mortgage, and if you have the extra money you're making good money, you still have a job, you're doing things, very well, and you still have a mortgage, get that mortgage paid off. Pay extra on that mortgage, get it paid down, and get it paid off. Because not having a mortgage or not having a house payment frees up a lot of money in the end to make life quite a bit easier. Yes, you're still going to have property taxes. Yes, you're still going to have, other things like that. But your mortgage, that is a huge chunk that you don't have to pay ever again. And that's if you have a mortgage. If you rent, that doesn't apply to you, because rent will always be month to month and continue on. And there's nothing wrong with renting. We rent, and we have been renting for the past 13 years. And so, I am not saying that there's anything wrong with renting. There are some pros and cons to renting. One pro is maintenance and repairs tend to be covered by your rent. So if the air conditioning goes out, that's covered by your rent. If you have a major plumbing issue, that's usually covered by your rent. If you have a roof leak, that's usually covered by your rent. We've had roof issues on this house a couple times, minor roof issues, but they're still roof issues. And it's been so nice to not have to worry about it. We just contact the landlord, let him know, hey, we've got something going on here. We might want you to just take a look at this. Same thing with the heating and air conditioning. Same thing with the plumbing, We had a clogged drain and stuff. Now, some things, like if we break a window or something like that, we're still charged for it because we're responsible because we actually broke it. But it's not like we have to, do all the work to source, a contractor to get all that done and stuff. So there are some benefits and advantages to renting over owning. However, I will say that if you can own a home and you can pay it off and you can have funds set aside for maintenance and repairs like that, that is very nice, because then you don't have to worry about losing your home possibly it going into foreclosure or, you know, not being able to pay rent. And I will say this, back when COVID hit, there was a lot of people who said, well, I'm just not going to pay my rent because they say, well, there's a moratorium and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I will say this. If you truly cannot pay your rent, I understand that. But, rent or mortgage, I totally understand that. But you need to communicate with your mortgage company, with your landlord, and say, hey, I'm having a hard time paying this bill, and do your best to pay what you can. Because what that's going to do, excuse me, what that's going to do is that's going to let them know that you are trying to pay your bill and you're not just slacking. Because honestly, you want to have a good relationship with your landlord, you want to have a good relationship with your lender, pay your bills. Do the best you can to pay your bills. Pay your bills on time. And if you truly have a problem, like I said, I understand that things happen, but communicate with your landlord, because guess what? Your landlord has bills to pay too. Many times they still have a mortgage on the home that you're in. Many times they still have insurance, they still have property taxes, they still have things like that. And it's not fair to them for you just to not pay your bill all of a sudden because the government says you don't have to pay it. I'm sorry, but I have a big problem with that because you signed up to pay this amount to this landlord, and this landlord is counting on that income, and that's their livelihood. They're providing you a roof over your head so that way you can provide them an income. It's no different. Like, think about if you went to work and your boss was like, oh no, sorry, I can't pay you today or stuff, and they just keep putting it off and putting it off. You'd be pretty upset. Do you not think your landlord's gonna feel the same way? There's no difference. Zero. So, pay your rent or your mortgage. It's very, very, very important. And lastly, do not buy things that you can't afford. If you cannot afford it, do not buy it. Period. And this is one thing that I will say. And I think this is something that's not very common in our culture, but car payments. I don't think there's any valid reason to have a car payment. To be quite honest, I don't think there's any valid reason to just have a car payment all the time. You know, I personally will never, ever take out a loan for a vehicle. It is a depreciating asset, and if something happens to it, I lose all that money anyway. It makes no sense to me. So, and not to mention, the newer and the fancier the car, the more expensive the insurance is, the more expensive the tags are, the more expensive everything is. And so, get your car paid off if you have a car payment. Just get it paid off. You know? And guess what? Drive it until it literally stops driving. That's what my parents have always done. And they're still doing it to this day. So, you know, that's the other thing is, you know, buying cars you can't afford really doesn't make sense. And especially if you're only driving it, like, just around the corner to work and back. You know, there's no difference because they all do the same thing, essentially. They're basically just taking you from point A to point B. That's all they're doing. I really do not understand why people obsess over having expensive cars. I mean, and once again, here's just a disclaimer. I'm not talking about people who can't afford, you know, more expensive, newer cars. If you can afford it and you've paid off everything, you've paid cash for it, and you can afford that, and your income is good, and you're living within your means, by all means, do whatever you want. I really don't care. But I will say that you need to be wise, you know, because at the end of the day, a car is just getting you from here to there. And I've used this example a lot in the past, but my parents bought a 2000 Mazda MPV minivan, like, when it was 4 years old, in 2004. Do you know that they drove that thing all the way up until the fall of 2015 when it finally blew an engine? And do you know how reliable that thing was? It was super reliable. I never even saw that blown engine coming. Didn't even cross my mind that that was ever a possibility. And looking back on it now, I shouldn't be surprised because, I mean, we drove it for a very long time. And do you know that my parents drove that car for 12 years? And they even drove it across the country, and we took it on road trips across several states, like 4 or 5 times. You know, and my parents didn't owe anything on that car, you know, for 11 years. They didn't owe anything. I mean, obviously they had to pay insurance and tags and things like that, but they didn't owe anything on that vehicle. So, you know, it pays to be smart and know where your money is going. You know, save money for a rainy day when things get rough. You know, if you have the extra money, you know, go ahead and stock up on things when they're on sale. Stock up on things when there's a good deal of a bulk supply of something. Because it gives you basically kill two birds with one stone. First of all, you get a better deal on some of that stuff. And second of all, on the back side of that, it gives you an extra supply for whatever may come. Like, we'll just take COVID as an example. Like, how many people were freaking out over toilet paper and stuff like that, you know? If you're able to stock up ahead of time, even if it's getting an extra backup when it's on sale, and continually rotating stuff out, that's going to help you in the long run. And if you have a backup stock on hand, if you lose your job, if something happens, then you've got a cushion of supplies that you don't have to worry about buying already, and you can just focus that emergency fund on paying very essential bills like rent, mortgage, utilities, insurance, things like that. So just be wise with your finances. Be wise with what you buy. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with enjoying purchases. There's nothing wrong with buying nice things once in a while. But we plan for these things. We budget for these things. And, you know, you need to pay your essential bills first and make sure that you've got your four walls covered: food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. And transportation, I'm not talking about car payments. I'm talking about getting a car paid off. If you have a car loan, get it paid off as soon as you can. But I'm talking about the insurance and everything, the gas, the maintenance on the vehicles. That's all transportation costs. And at the end of the day, you know, if you have to get like a 1998 Toyota or Honda or something, and it's not the fanciest, but it works, hey, by all means, do it. Because at the end of the day, it's just getting you from here to there. That's all it's doing. That is literally all it's doing. And this is just my opinion. Brand new cars are honestly not any more reliable than an older car. If you stay on top of the maintenance, if you take care of it, and you get a good older car, such as a Toyota or a Honda, the chances of you having major issues are fairly slim. and you don't really have to worry about it. So, anyway, I just wanted to talk about that with you guys because I think, a lot of people are kind of just, freaking out like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, you have to get your finances in order. You have to make things priorities. Priorities, priorities, priorities. Like I said, rent or mortgage outside of other essential bills, those are the top areas that must be taken care of. Because your housing is the very foundation of everything else that happens. If, and try to help out in the best way that you can. Because I will say that me personally, I don't have a high income. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But, and this is the other thing is like some people say, well, if you live with your parents, that just kind of sucks because, you should be independent and blah, blah, blah. I understand that. But there are certain circumstances where you can't afford to do that. And I certainly cannot afford to do that. However, if, somebody, let's say, if the kid is living at home and they're doing their part to take care of the household, they're doing chores, they're paying for some of the expenses and everything like that, then that's helping the household. There's a big difference between that and then just somebody who's just sitting around playing video games, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to help out, or anything like that. And I will say that, even my own parents have said that it has helped them to have me here taking care of certain areas of the household. Like, for example, I tend to take care of the non-food items. The paper and plastic, the paper towels, toilet paper, laundry detergent, dish detergent, trash bags, things like that, soap, just anything in that category, I've tended to gravitate towards taking care of. And let me tell you, that does cost a lot of money by itself. That category alone is quite a bit. Now, my parents take care of a lot of the majority of the food costs and everything like that. I take care of a lot of the household supply costs and things like that. So, there is a benefit because, we help each other out. Everybody pitches in and does their part. Now, I wasn't asked to do this. I wasn't asked, like, hey, can you take care of the household expenses and buy all the toilet paper and all this stuff. I was never asked to do that. I just decided on my own, you know what, I'm just going to take care of this category because for some reason I'm just gifted in that area. I know how to find good deals on that stuff. I know, you know, what we need. I know how much we have. I know when I need to replenish. I know what I need to do. And so I just decided to take on that myself because, my parents already do a lot food wise, with the utilities, with everything else. I just think it's fair to jump in and help in certain areas. So just think outside the box and try to, prioritize your bills and do what you can, And hey, if you're a young person and you're still living with your parents, as long as you're helping them and as long as they're cool with it, and as long as you're being respectful, taking care of them, helping them, doing your part to participate in the household, there shouldn't be any problem with that. I hear a lot of negativity about kids living at home, and yes, there is a point where it is not good. Because as I said, if, a kid is lazy, if a kid is not willing to do his or her part, if they just have an entitled attitude, let me tell you, that ain't gonna fly. It certainly ain't gonna fly in this house. I can tell you that. And so, when you contribute and you try to do your best and take care of your portion, take responsibility, because I understand that, costs are outrageous. I understand that, apartments in my area are renting, and I'm just talking about a one-bedroom apartment. One-bedroom apartments in my area are renting for $1,000, $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month just for a one-bedroom apartment. That is insane. I could not even come close to affording that. And that's not even counting the utilities, that's not even counting the insurance, that's not counting food, supplies, that's not counting any of that stuff. And so I totally understand the real reason. And you just gotta gotta do what you gotta do to live in your within your means. And just do your best. So anyway, guys, I think I've gone on enough. Those are just some ideas for you. And like I said, take care of the basics first. Prioritize. Because, you need to be a wise steward of your money and be responsible, pay your bills, and, just survive, basically. So anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.